Jesus explains hardship as a teacher. Say I, the Lord. Good and true, and I cannot at all say that you have spoken a single untrue word. However, imagine a planet where all men, without any special mission or other activity on their part, are quite well provided for, recognizing that, in this way, they are able to live without a worry whatsoever. And within a short period of time, you have your North Europeans before you. These people once lived in Asia, the cradle of mankind, and were equally, if not better provided for than even the Romans, having enjoyed an upbringing directly from the heavens. There were sages among them, the likes of which the earth has not had until I myself appeared. But what was the result of all that? They ate and drank with cheer, growing more sluggish by the day, falling into their current state generation by generation, and now, in this their most pitiable condition, they must earn a most meagre physical living by the sweat of their brow, but are nonetheless not entirely bereft of sages and teachers. Yet, behold, this very poverty shall place them on a developmental level that will surpass that of even the contemporary Roman in every way. So, it would be detrimental for man to be fully provided for physically, for he would grow so indolent that he would not care about anything. And this striving for indolent, carefree peace is, once again, an attribute of the, in and of itself, dead body. The soul, which, for the most part, must first create its formal consistency by the appropriate activity of the body, would rest as well in this carefree peace of the body. For even within the soul, propensity towards inactivity predominates primarily. By the painful demands of the body, the soul is first awoken from its lethargy, for it senses that a body completely unprovided for will lead both the body and the soul itself to its death. Hence, the soul does everything in its power to provide for the body as best as it can. Since the soul nevertheless is terribly afraid of death, besides caring for the body, it also begins investigating life itself, and its newly awakened love for life will lead it to the conclusion that it, as a soul, will continue to live, even after the body will be laid to rest. From this, a kind of faith in the immortality of the soul finally develops, and this faith grows more and more vivid, becoming a human aspiration and need. However, certain rational persons, who are not all that uncommon, are then no longer content with faith alone, researching it on a deeper level, testing its power and endeavoring to prove the validity thereof with more practical means wherever its power has not sufficed. Usually, the public then considers such researchers as seers and hearers, guided and instructed by a higher spirit, who receive deeper knowledge of the life of the soul after death throughout the course of their communication. Such researchers are commonly elevated to priesthood by the peoples. In the end, however, as they realize their indispensability, usually misuse the trust of their people, seeking earthly gain through their station, and are ultimately no more than blind leaders of the blind. Still, one good thing comes out of all this, for the public will remain faintly connected to the heavens. In time, when the blind faith in these priests grows ever more dim, new researchers will arise from among the people, examining what came before without completely dismissing it, and blending the residual good with the results of their own research, ultimately creating an entirely new doctrine, one that no longer tolerates blind faith, but demands fullest conviction based on facts, and which, if necessary, can be exposed to public scrutiny. And behold, in this way, after an arduous and painstaking journey, the youngest generation discovers the truth, and from the experience gained thereby emerge laws with which men's lives may be guided, so that the previously elusive truth may be preserved among mankind in its true, pure form. If then, following such a find, having come forth from mankind's increasing activity, a supernatural doctrine descends upon men from the very heavens, as a mighty, miraculous light, then such a people will have found salvation, reborn in spirit. And behold, all this will not be brought about by carefree provision of the body, but by the indigence and sorrow of men. I say unto you, necessity breeds ingenuity is true even for animals, let alone man. When man is forced to deeply deliberate out of necessity, that is when the earth beneath his feet begins to blossom. If, however, he is well provided for, he will lie down beside the animal, neither thinking nor doing anything. Behold, I would need to grant the earth merely 100 consecutive, exceedingly blessed and fruitful years, and all of mankind would begin to reek like the plague from its indolence. However, because I alternate between good and bad years, mankind must be continually active, having to prepare during a good year for a potentially bad one yet to come. And so, mankind remains active, on at least one hand, whereas otherwise it would degenerate into utter lethargy. Do you understand this as well? Chapter 213. The Consequences of Overabundance. Says Cyrenius, Lord, you truly are mankind's master, and presently the living school of true life, and now I know exactly where I stand, and where mankind at large stands. Only one thing I cannot quite follow though, why some nations, provided for sufficiently above the level of slavery, could nonetheless descend into utter lethargy in the end. From your mouth I would like to hear another word or two on this topic, O Lord and Master. Say I, O friend, do consult the history of the peoples of this earth. Behold the ancient, well-provided for Egyptians. Look at Babylon and Nineveh. Look at Sodom and Gomorrah. Indeed, look at the people of Israel in the desert, whom I had provided with manna from the heavens for 40 years. Look even further, and you shall see a great many more advanced nations, and you will soon realize what good physical sufficiency did for them. Behold, a well-provided for dame, for instance, will do no more than dress up and adorn herself all day long, and ultimately she shall grow too lazy for even that, letting herself be washed, dressed, and adorned by others. However, even that may not last all that long either, and such spoiled dame will end up too lazy for even being attended to, becoming quite like a swine, if not a veritable sloth, as they exist in India and Central Africa. A question. At that point, what could there still be done with such women? Of what spiritual education are they capable? I say unto you, she is not even suited to be a harlot. Indeed, such was the case in Sodom and Gomorrah, which is why the peoples there began to be content with degeneracy in the first place. Do you understand this? Truly, says Cyrenius, never before, to my knowledge, have you been so generous with your radiant wisdom. I must confess, this time you have told me more than on any other occasion I had the privilege of listening to you. Everything you have told us now, about the emergence and existence of mankind, from its roots and in all its relations, is as clear and bright as day. But still I am missing something. Once I know that as well, I shall be well provided for unto eternity. May I pose the question, or will you be reading it in my heart? Say I, You may ask this time, for the sake of the others, so that they too may know from the beginning what this is about. Says Cyrenius, "Well then, allow me to be heard graciously.